Fox CEO Lachlan Murdoch on the company's Q1 conference call was asked this week about SmackDown leaving the network next year, and he was very blunt in his response. There were also a lot of ums in his answer. Either he's not a very good public speaker or he was trying to be as nice as he could be, and was searching for the words that he wanted to use to be as diplomatic as possible. WWE, for those who don't know, they've already announced that SmackDown is leaving Fox next October. They're home for 5 years. As of next year, it'll be 5 years. And they are returning to USA Network, their old home, although not necessarily on Fridays. We don't know yet. So Murdoch said it came down to simple economics. We were not hitting the advertising numbers due to the audience of WWE for our return on investment to be above the levels that we would accept. But also, we didn't attribute enough significant retransmission revenue to the WWE either. So it made sense for us to move on. They've been a great partner for many years, but just quite simply were very disciplined and the ROI did not meet our pretty disciplined parameters. So we wish them luck and we have moved on from them. Yes, you're dead to me. We've moved on. They sent WWE a gift basket like Derek Jeter back in the day. Yeah, it comes down to this. It's very simple. If you want to parse his words here, no matter how hot WWE may seem these days when it comes to its live events and the celebrity involvement, Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, right? All these people, they love WWE. They want to be involved in WWE. No matter how well they seem to be doing, all these cities around the world paying them to bring their shows to their country, advertisers still look down on pro wrestling. That's been the case for decades, and it really hasn't changed all that much. As much as WWE has tried to, somewhat successfully, but not totally, to improve its image and change its image, and we're not pro wrestling, we're different, we're sports entertainment. At the end of the day, advertisers still look down on pro wrestling. They look at it as low-brow entertainment. And WWE can run from that label all they want, but they're still pro wrestling. And wrestling will always have a stigma attached to it. So they don't attract the type of advertising dollars that other sports do. You know, the ratings are important, not as important as they used to be. But to say they're not important would just simply not be true. If they were ranked dead last every single week, right, that would be a problem. Wrestling fans generally don't spend money outside the wrestling bubble. They don't spend a whole lot of disposable income on those other things that are being advertised. It's like all the shows over the years that USA positioned after Raw would go off the air using Raw as a lead-in. I don't think they ever really did all that great with Monday Night Raw as a lead-in. The Ultimate Fighter did years ago because there was some crossover appeal there with the audience. That's the show that saved the UFC, and Vince McMahon is the one who gave the green light for them to air the show in the first place. This is back when they were still on Spike. But wrestling fans, they don't tune in great numbers to the shows that air after the show is over. They just don't care. Wrestling fans largely exist in their own bubble. I mean, you could tell that just by going on social media. But they exist in their own bubble. They want their wrestling, and then they move on to something else. Fox was paying WWE $200 million a year and probably making back around half that on the product. They were losing money. Why? Because the ad rates were not what they would be for other sports or other really popular television shows. Even if WWE's ratings might beat those other shows, you know, Raw used to get preempted for a fucking dog show every year and tennis. But they weren't doing the kind of numbers that Raw was doing back then. I'll bet they brought in way more ad money than WWE did, though, even for half the audience. And that gets into a whole other discussion that I'm not really qualified to talk too much about. My knowledge of how the ad industry and ad rates work is limited to what I know from my work in PR and just learning about ad agencies that do ad buys. Because there is some overlap there between, you know, the PR and the ad worlds occasionally. I don't think it's a case where a brand like, say, Burger King specifically said, hey, we want to advertise during WWE. Or we want to advertise during SmackDown. I don't think they pick out specific companies to advertise or specific shows to advertise with, not unless they're the most desirable of television shows. Then you can do that, although it probably costs you more money. So outside of those very, very top shows, I don't know how these networks allocate which ads go where. These companies probably have no idea where their ads are actually running. But they can damn sure tell these networks where they don't want them to be running, like pro wrestling. Because to them, it's a waste of money. They're not going to spend money on our product anyway, so why bother? So here you have WWE looking to maybe double what they're making now on their next media rights deal, right? They don't want to go down. They don't want to stay flat. They want to make more money each time, right? They want these deals to continue to escalate. And Fox is like, well, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. We're losing money. We're not going to give you more money. Advertisers aren't exactly lining up to promote their products on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or Collision or any other wrestling show. To them, it is still lowbrow entertainment. They don't get a lot of value back from it. I don't know what the demographics are when it comes to income. If there have been studies done, I imagine there have been. But wrestling fans in general probably aren't ranking very high on the income list. These are all things that advertisers take into account. That's a hard stigma to overcome. And when I tell you later about the NWA clip that went viral this week, it's not hard to see why wrestling has that stigma. Now, the retransmission stuff he mentioned is a little fuzzier to me. I think that has to do with the money they get per subscriber from these cable providers to carry their networks. You know, how much they can credit something like WWE for that revenue, you know, when it comes to getting people to subscribe. Evidently not very much. And so, you know, look, wrestling can bring a lot of value to these networks. As a live show with no off-season, it runs 52 weeks a year. We saw that with the writers' strike, and during COVID, when everything shut down, wrestling did not. Wrestling kept going. But advertising rules the roost, and Fox just got tired of losing money, and the last thing they're going to do is pay them more money to keep losing money. You know, we're still waiting to see where Raw and NXT are going to land. It looks like they're as good as gone from USA. The streaming services are all in play, though. Shouldn't be that much longer before we hear about a deal.